All right, welcome to part 3 of our video series on equations, tables, and graphs. We've covered all the equations. Now we're going to work on doing our tables and graphs from the same context of Olivia's birthday party. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a table of values based on the independent and dependent variables that we came up with. Our independent variable will be on top. So we're going to label our top row as G. And our guests, number of guests, and we're going to label our bottom row as C, which is the number of cookies. So when we make a table of values for this, what we're going to do is we're going to choose a variety of values to plug in for G. So first, let's come up with the values for G. We're going to start off with 0 for the number of guests. This is going to be important because we're talking about proportional relationships right now. We're going to go ahead and do 1, 2, 3, 4, and then maybe we'll pick a number like 10. So we picked the independent variable. That's why it's an independent variable. We got to choose which values we show for this. Now for the dependent variable, cookies, we have to plug in the independent variable for G. So for the first one, we're going to plug in a 0 instead of the G. So this particular problem will say C is equal to 4 times 0. And 4 times 0 is 0. For the next value, we're going to undo what we just did, and now we're going to plug in 1 for G. So we have 4 times 1, which is 4. And now we're going to do it for 2. So 2 for G. So now it says 4 times 2, and 4 times 2 is 8. And now we're going to do it for 3 is G. 4 times 3 is 12. And then 4 for G. 4 times 4 is equal to 16. And then the last one is going to be 10 for G. And 4 times 10 is 40. Okay, so that's how you make a table of values from an equation. You come up with the values you want to have for the independent variable, and then you plug each one of those into the equation to figure out the value of the dependent variable for each one. So now each one of these makes an ordered pair that we will then use to graph in our upcoming graph. So our first ordered pair would be 0, 0. Our second ordered pair would be 1, 4. Our next would be 2, 8. Our next would be 3, 12. Our next would be 4, 16. And this would be 10, 40, even though we probably will not include this on our graph because we don't want to make our graph too big. So now using these ordered pairs and these values, we're going to create and draw a graph. So because of the context, all of these values are positive values, meaning we're only going to be working in quadrant 1 today. So this is still the same coordinate plane that we've been drawing all year, but we're just going to be using quadrant number 1. So the bottom corner here is worth 0, and we have to label what we're going to put on the bottom. Since we know that the independent variable is always our x-axis, we can go ahead and label the bottom as guests, G. And then we can label our y-axis, which is always our dependent axis, cookies, C. And now we need to come up with our intervals. So our x interval, we're just going to go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we don't need too detailed of an interval. We're going to go up by 1 each time. And our y interval, we're going to go all the way up to 16. So we could go up by 5s, we could go up by 1s. It really depends on what you want to do. In this case, we're going to go up by 4s. So our first interval is 4, our next interval is 8, our next one is 12, and our last one is 16. And again, we're not going to show the final ordered pair on there because it would just make the graph too big. And now we can graph our points. So our first point is at 0, 0. And this is really important to graph and show that our graph starts at the origin. All proportional relationships start at the origin. Our next point will be at 1, 4. Remember, we're going to go to the right 1, and then we're going to go up 4, which is right at the intersection that we made there. Our next ordered pair is at 2, 8. So we're going to put a dot here. Our next one is at 3, 12. So we're going to put a dot here. And our last one is at 4, 16. So we're going to put a dot here. Okay, and the ultimate question is, can we connect these dots? Is our data continuous or is it discrete? Can we have part of a guest show up at our party? No. We don't want part of a guest to show up at our party because that would make it a horror show, not a party. All right, thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed this video.